Well, some of the key things that you need to think about with a model shelter medicine program is one, good management in the shelter. And that may seem a little odd at first blush, but every person who comes in contact with an animal in the shelter, in fact, has a role to play in the health of that animal, both in terms of minimizing stress on that animal as well as minimizing the likelihood that they transfer an infectious agent from one animal to another animal.
I believe that the first thing a shelter can do to develop a model shelter medicine program is to recruit a strong, mission-centered veterinarian.
And it's important, I think, to realize that a veterinarian needs to be involved in the management decisions made in the shelter, because so often management decisions impact on the animal health.
Once management has found this rare mission-centered veterinarian that's going to take their shelter to the next level, management has to trust and invest in that person. One of the things that can be frustrating for shelter veterinarians is for management to try and dictate medical protocols, and it really is that veterinarian's duty to develop good protocols to protect the health and welfare of the animals in the shelter. It's natural for management to think that veterinarians should spend all of their time in the clinic taking care of sick animals or doing spays and neuters, but it's important that the veterinarian have enough time reserved to develop protocols for enhancing the welfare of animals in the shelter and also for training the staff.
These protocols should incorporate state-of-the-art information. They should be clearly written, and they should be referred to throughout the training of new staff and revisited periodically, such that staff is well aware of what is incorporated into them.
Wellness protocols generally will include strong vaccination protocols against infectious diseases, parasite control, and other medical problems. And it's important not to overlook the importance of the psychological well-being of the animals in our shelter and assure that they have good welfare as well. The animal care staff is the first line of defense, especially for infectious disease problems, because they're the ones that care for the animals on a daily basis, and they also know each individual animal, and if they're aware and they know that they should be watching, they can detect early problems and report those to the veterinary care staff to take action.
And so you have to have staff well trained. They have to understand their role in keeping these animals healthy. And then I think you have to have a means to make sure that they're adhering to that training.
They can then report their findings to the veterinary care staff and the veterinary technicians, who can work with the veterinarian to develop a treatment plan and also carry out those treatments. We do need the entire shelter staff to be vigilant, to continue to monitor every day, to document those findings and watch for trends, and then to respond when we see negative effects happening. But we shouldn't wait for those negative effects to happen before we intervene.
I'd like to re-emphasize the importance of staff being vigilant to disease in the shelter, and that when they see disease, to report it promptly and to have a mechanism by which they know exactly to whom they need to report and when. It's so important to both for the individual animal's health, because you want to start administering treatment as quickly as possible, but also you want to protect the other healthy animals around that animal from becoming infected with the same agent.
We think one of the most important activities that the veterinarian needs to be engaged with in a daily basis is what we call daily rounds. We would like the veterinarian with an assistant to have visual contact with every animal in the shelter every day. This can be a big task in a shelter that has hundreds of animals. We expect that the animal care staff can make notations on a daily basis on a cage card that can indicate that animal's appetite, behavior, drinking, quality of its stools, and its general attitude. And then during daily rounds, these observations can be reviewed by the veterinary care team, and that prevents any animals from slipping through the cracks.
One of the other key components to a good shelter medicine program is paying attention to behavioral health. Animals that are behaviorally stressed are more likely to become physically ill, and those that are physically ill are physiologically stressed, which will increase the time to recovery, increase their suffering, and so it's very important to pay attention to both aspects.
Stress is very common in shelters, and because of its suppression of the immune system, it really can contribute and really be a silent killer in animal shelters. I think as veterinarians, it's easy for us to focus too much of our attention on the physical needs of the animal and overlook the mental needs of that animal as well. We know what the needs of animals are on a global basis, and we should be providing for those, not just for their physical health and their nutrition and their wellness protocols, but also to make sure that they have an excellent quality of life and that they're challenged and stimulated every day.
Another aspect that shelters could pay attention to is collecting information about the disease level of the animals in the shelter.
It is important for shelters to know where they stand with their physical and behavioral health, and also know where their goals are for improvement, because in all cases we can always improve our programs. This is where electronic medical record keeping is very important. We should be keeping track of items such as the rate of respiratory disease in cats, the rate of behavioral problems in dogs, how long animals are staying in the shelter, and whether there's specific programs for certain kinds of animals that need to be developed.
And it helps you monitor long term. How are you doing in that shelter? How are animals faring in that shelter? And that pertains both to behavioral and physical health.
Even in shelters where staff adhere to their protocols for cleaning and disinfection and well care programs, infectious diseases are going to enter the shelter in animals that seem to be healthy from time to time. And none of those procedures are going to be 100% effective in preventing outbreaks or spread of disease. This is why it's essential for staff, especially the animal care staff, to be vigilant at all times for any sign of trouble and to report it so it can be acted on immediately. The field of shelter medicine is rapidly growing, thanks in part to Maddie's fund funding a lot of academic programs to build the knowledge and increase the number of expert practitioners.
If I didn't have Maddie's funding at Cornell University and our College of Veterinary Medicine to fund this shelter medicine program, it wouldn't exist. And this enables me and the people that I work with to offer cutting-edge education and research to improve the health of homeless animals in shelters.